Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Clark. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Jermaine. How's everybody this morning?
Can't complain.
Good, good. I'm doing all right for a black man living in America.
Living in America.
All right. As you know, it's as in keeping with Black History Month and keeping with one of the things we have suggested reading. And it's kind of ironic how this happened. I had received a text from Kurt Harris, and he was just talking about some historical factoids in the city of Milwaukee. He talked specifically about St. Benedict de Moor, which had a school. A lot of people don't know my uncle went to St. Benedict de Moor. Red Fox went to St. Benedict de Moor. So it was a boarding school, Catholic boarding school. And so yesterday, when I was putting back the book that I used for the program, huh? Oh, okay. Um, the Negro Business Directory of the state of Wisconsin fell out. And, the text that I received from Kurt, the book fell out. I'm not superstitious, but so anyway, so today our focus books is first, let me do this one. The Negro Motorist Green Book. All right. You see that by Victor Green. Um, God, his first publishing was in 1936. And what it was basically for black people during that time, because of segregation, there were places that they could not eat, could not stay. They let them know about sundown towns. And originally, when Mr. Green published this book, he did it primarily because he was from Harlem. He did it for the New York City area, but then it expanded. And it says the Negro Motorist Green Book: hotels, taverns, garages, nightclubs, restaurants, service stations, automotive services, tourist homes, roadhouses, barbershops, beauty shops. And so in here throughout the country, I'm trying to remember what's Wisconsin in here. And this one was actually, so we got Texas. Let's see. I don't see Wisconsin. There's Tennessee, Texas, man. Virginia, Vermont. Let's see here. Washington State. Did we make it? Oh, here's Wisconsin. And so in Wisconsin, in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, Miss E. Pirtle had a boarding house, a tourist home. Miss V. Williams, she had one. An Oshkosh, El Shad. I'm assuming that's related to Mary Ellen Strong. F. Penderda, and then that's it. So it's Fond du Lac and Oshkosh. That was part of the Green Book. This is the 1940 edition. And then this is what fell out. The Negro Business Directory. The Negro Business Directory of the state of Wisconsin. This is the 1950 to 1951 edition. Let me thank the good folks there. Miss Vernice Williams, reprinted by Alice Gardens Urban Farm and Kujachagalia Producers Corporate. And I like what they said: to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. And again, it was Miss who then did the reprinting of this book. I got this at the Black Holocaust Museum. Okay, that's where I got my copy. Now let me do this. This directory was put together by Mary Ellen Strong. So just in case you might not know who Mary Ellen Strong is, let's see. I'm going to read from her obituary in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And the title was Mary Ellen Strong. Strong was a pioneer of city's black media. Mary Ellen Strong, a pioneer in black media and marketing in Milwaukee and Chicago, died Tuesday of heart failure At her California home, she was 91 years old. And again, this was taken from an article posted November 29th, 2012. Strong had lived in California for several years, where she had worked with various ministries, said her son, Gerald Jones. She was the first in so many things, he said. She did have the pioneering spirit. Her long and varied career included politics, publishing, and marketing. It began with the annual Wisconsin Negro Business Directory in 1949. It started many things. It was the beginning of my known work, she said in 1956 when she made an unsuccessful bid for the 6th District automatic seat. Wow. She ran for alderperson in 1956. Um, she said, Milwaukee has a great soul. I want to give it body. I think that this is the most strategic ward in Milwaukee, talking about the 6th. I'm in love with it. It was the same year that Vel Phillips ran for automatic seat and became the first Black and the first woman elected to Milwaukee's Common Council. Around the same time, Strong founded the Milwaukee Defender, a weekly newspaper in Milwaukee, billed as Wisconsin's only Negro news of and by Negroes. And it's interesting, they don't capitalize Negro. It was published until 1961. She was the spirit in terms of business and making things happen in Milwaukee, said Claiborne Benson, founder and director of Wisconsin's Black Historical Society. Benson called the business directory she produced a comprehensive look at Milwaukee's Black community at the time, covering businesses as well as clubs, civic and social organizations, and more. It featured ads for Black businesses and businesses that were friendly to Blacks, including a national listing of hotels where Black people could vacation without humiliation. According to Wisconsin Historical Society archives listing, the directory was published until 1961. In 1963, Strong started the Milwaukee Courier, part of the Courier chain of newspapers, said her son, who now runs the paper. In 1972, Courier Communications Corporation bought WNOV, the first Black-owned radio station in Wisconsin, Jones said. By the mid-1960s, Strong had moved to Chicago and was publisher of the Black Family magazine in Chicago, had founded her own public relations, marketing, and research firm, and was director of the marketing and research division of the Chicago Courier. She was also founder and president of Welcome New Neighbors Service, Inc., a nationwide marketing company aimed at Black consumers, and worked as a marketing and advertising consultant. One of 8 children, Strong moved to Milwaukee with her family a short time after she was born in Gary, Indiana. Her father died when she was young. She attended Milwaukee Public Schools and was the first Black person to attend what was then the Milwaukee Business University, according to the 1956 story on her automatic bid. She took vocational school classes in the evening, studying everything from speed reading to millinery and real estate law. Millinery is like clothes. The latter would come in handy when she bought a plot of land in Chicago and announced plans to build a high-rise building that will stand tall in the second largest Negro market in America, according to the 1966 Milwaukee Journal story on her life in Chicago. She sold the building when she moved to Atlanta, where she became involved in ministry work, her son said. Her nephew, Monty Shad, remembers her as always very busy, always on the go. He added she was an adventurer, she was a pace setter, a groundbreaker, not only assertive but aggressive. What she did was so radical in some cases. She knew what she wanted and she went after it. Strong was married 4 times. Her marriage to Jesse Jones ended in divorce, as did her marriage to Lawrence Shad. In 1970, she married attorney James Strong, who had been a U.S. diplomat to Gambia and worked as a marketing executive with the Kellogg Corporation. After his death, she married Andrew Gaines of Atlanta, the father and manager of late singer Donna Summers. He died about 5 years ago, so that would have been, 2007. For more than 25 years, Strong was involved with ministries, including Abundant Living Family Church in California, Crenshaw Christian Center in Los Angeles, that's Fred Price, right? Word of Faith in Detroit, and Nashville Believers Bible Christian Church in Atlanta, and others. Her son said he read a quotation recently that reminded him of his mother. It began, work for a cause, not for applause, he said. That's the way she was. When she left Milwaukee, believe me, Milwaukee had a void. And again, it goes on to talk about her survivors. Let me read something that she put in her editor's note in the Black Wisconsin Negro Directory. Why have the dreams of mankind of freedom and security come true here in the United States? It is because from the beginning of our existence in America, our leaders built for the future. Because of the seeds that they have so carefully sown, we're reaping an abundant harvest. Among the most fertile was education. Businesses were built, homes, churches, schools, and factories until today they rank with the nation's finest. From our institutions have come statesmen, scientists, doctors, lawyers, educators, writers, merchants, and athletes. To the pioneers of these frontiers, do we owe our progress today? It's to the pioneers of these frontiers that we do owe our progress of today. And only by persistence pioneering can we reach our full potential. The purpose of this directory is twofold. First, to encourage a closer bond of understanding between the merchant and the consumer through simplified listings. And secondly, to acquaint the consumer with multiple various businesses and professions in his own community. It is the desire of the editor that both benefit by this undertaking. And that's Mary Ellen Shadd again. And so these are the feature books today. Again, the Negro Business Directory of the state of Wisconsin. This one was published 1950 to 1951. And then the Negro Motorist Green Book, again, by Victor H. Green. This was first published in 1938. So those of us who are old enough to remember, especially when you travel south, that you couldn't stop. And so people can remember sitting there with basically a shoebox with some fried chicken and some light bread and maybe some caramel cake. And man, life was good. Now we had no clue because we were just so in love with the box. But the reason for the box was we couldn't stop, right? And we would go to Tennessee. And I could tell you when we got to Cairo, Illinois, Lord, 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 ooh, 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 that was the scariest part of the trip going through Cairo, crossing. I don't know if that's the Ohio River, into where we go, Kentucky. Yeah. So anyway, phone lines are open 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. She left quite a legacy. We're part of that legacy here at WNOV Courier Communications. I was a little guy when WNOV first went on the air. I think it went on the air in 1968. And it was the people that had started Chess Records and those folks. And they did WVON in Chicago. And then we did WNOV in Milwaukee. And until recently, we were one of two Black-owned radio stations here in the city. WVON is still Black-owned and operated. So we're part of that legacy. And so we want to shout that out. Can't read enough, man. You just. I'm sorry. Just can't read enough, man. And
I never known about that book. Them two books.
Yeah, and then there was a movie called The Green Book, and there's a local connection with that. The Green Book was actually based on a real life person, and I'm gonna give you the Milwaukee. I'll give you the Milwaukee connection here in just a moment. Okay, the Green Book, as you remember, it was about this world-class African American pianist, Dr. Don Shirley. He had embarked on a concert tour in the Deep South in 1962 in need of a driver and protection because he's going to the South as a Black man. Shirley recruits Tony Lip, a tough-talking bouncer from an Italian-American neighborhood in the Bronx. Despite their differences, the two men soon developed an unexpected bond while confronting racism and the danger in the era of segregation. And I worked with Dr. Shirley's brother, Maurice Shirley, here in the city. And so there was a Milwaukee connection as relates to the people who were in that book. So
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, man, this whole green book, I know when it came out, and we do it. I mean, it's always if there's a book, and let me, I was very fortunate um, to be married to someone who loves books as
Mm-hmm.
much as I love books, and so our ability to get books, we'll see something and we'll get a book and we'll go like, oh man, what about that? So many of the books that I'm suggesting that people read are part of my library. um, that it's important to read. It's really important to teach your kids reading. One of the reasons why I love reading so much was it was one of those things that I bonded with my mother. I can remember when I was a little guy, my mother, there was this book, and I don't know why I thought that cover was purple. Maybe it seemed purple to me. And my mother would read these Bible stories to me from that book. All I wanted to do was one, to learn how to read, and two, to get my library card. Those, and I'm talking about my regular library card. Those things
Mm-hmm.
were so important to me. And me and my guy, we used to hang out at the Lapham Library there on the corner of North and 7th Street. Or we used to like going there on Saturdays because they show movies, but like books. And man, I fell in love with books. One of the frustrations in my life is that I'm a far better reader than I am a writer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a far better reader than I am a writer. And I think there's a lot when I go into therapy, we'll kind of work through why I have issues with writing, but certainly reading. So again, the Negro Business Directory and the Negro Motorist Green Book. A different time in America. Some people say ain't much changed. I don't know. But anyway, so the phone line's open 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. When we come back, I have a Black History question I want to throw out to folks this morning. So again, stay tuned for that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
East Parris.
All right. I was just going through the directory, and now again, this directory was done for 1950, 1951, and I went in. They had a listing of clergymen, and some of these names in here I remember. I was looking to see. Um, I know that there's Reverend Battle, and he was at, I think he was at Calvary. Reverend Louis Beauchamp, historic Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. Yeah. Um, let's see.
I wonder if
Reverend A. LaValle.
Kinfolk, LaValle.
Was
Who
he?
was he the pastor of?
That wasn't New Hope, was it? Now again, this is 1950.
I don't have to ask my mom.
Reverend T. Theo Lovelace. Let's see some other folks in here. I was looking. Reverend H.C. Moman, Reverend Elder V. Wallace, Verdale, and I think he's also in here. Bishop Dennis Flakes.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh man.
Wow, man. A lot of prominent names, man.
Mm-hmm.
Which book is that again?
This is from the Negro Business Directory.
1950.
1950. Reverend Trotter. Right. Reverend Powell. Oh, our pastor, Reverend Arthur Wise. That was the guy. He was the pastor that organized Metropolitan Baptist Church. Okay. All right. Also saw there was ads in here for Williamson's funeral home. Yeah. I'm sure OB's has got to be in here. Let's see.
Whatever happened to OB? Did they turn it to Northwest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Reverend Melvin Battles, a preacher of unsearchable riches of Christ, formerly pastor Liberty, Missouri. Let's see. Yep. He took over Calvary. He was the 13th pastor at Calvary. Oh, we got a bishop alum here, Reverend H.W. Cunningham, and he was the pastor there at he's a success pastor at Mount Zion Baptist Church. Okay, wow. Reverend C.A. Fisher, he was the pastor then at St. Mark AME Church, the oldest black church in the city. So it's like the history in here is let's see, where's master? Let's see. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Reverend William Joseph Green McLean. Oh, Reverend McLean at St. Matthew. Okay. Yeah. Westside Church of God in Christ. Reverend Percy Clemens. Yeah, they were on the hill. Holy Ghost Tabernacle Church of God in Christ in Kenosha. Yeah, wow. All right, here's my question. And caller, as soon as I ask the question, who invented peanut butter? Who invented peanut butter? Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Mr. Parris.
How are you?
I'm fairly decent this morning. Thank you for reviewing that history. And you know, you just asked the question of the morning. And when you get my age, you draw blanks sometimes, even when you know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to leave that for someone else to call and give you that answer.
Okay.
But thanks for reviewing the history of Milwaukee beyond just the current period. And I call the current period that period which most of us remember based on our age.
Mm-hmm.
And we go back in Milwaukee to Calvin Reeves, who was a black farmer, or he worked on a farm in Fox Point in the 1860s, 1870s, somewhere back in there. And his descendants one of his descendants was Leroy Simmons, who became a state legislator in 1944.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm a contemporary of Gerald Jones's. And Gerald Jones and Robert Thomas and I used to sit in rooms and do a lot of dreaming about things that could be done in this community. And of course, Gerald had the relationship with his mother, which was just a tremendous one because she was a very creative, very productive woman when it came to publications and marketing, etc. And of course, Robert Thomas and his wife Pat were the founders of the Milwaukee Community Journal.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and I have a slightly different perspective sometimes on history in Milwaukee because I did grow up here. My mother bringing me here in the early 1939, sometime in the spring of 1939. Because I remember I have a photo of her holding me as an infant in just a diaper in front of 925 West Galena Street, back apparently in 1939. So there are some flavors that exist about this community that probably ought to be broadened on because they give a person a better perspective of how the Black community grew. And you mentioned Williamson's funeral home.
Mm-hmm.
Williamson actually started out in a frozen custard business. And he had a frozen custard business on Walnut Street, on the north side of Walnut Street, between 6th Street and 7th Street, as an example. And they mentioned Emil O.B. Well, of course, he had a funeral home also on Walnut Street. Later, ultimately moved to approximately 24th and Center,
right, before
he was involved in the expansion to now what is Northwest Funeral Chapel, or probably funeral home.
Yeah, Metropolitan Baptist Church had their earliest services at the OB's funeral home.
Okay. And so one of the things you go back and find that there's so much of this history that is important because, and I had the good fortune to meet a lot of the leaders in the Black community when I was growing up. And they didn't have at the time, my thought patterns as a youth didn't allow them to have the impact on me that it has now. And again, another example was you mentioned St. Mark AME Church, which I attend. In my early childhood, Reverend Bland was an associate minister at St. Mark. And to me, he was just an associate minister. But I now read in various publications that he was also an activist in the combination of church movement in the Black community in Milwaukee at the time and the political movement. That a political movement in the Black community really needs to have a greater expansion because while it was a movement in the Black community, it also had a strong relationship to white folks, which we often denigrate because we have this inherent notion that it was always destructive to have a relationship with white folks when it came to politics. But Black folks, as I mentioned about Leroy Simmons, were involved in politics in this community starting in the late 1920s into the 30s and the 40s. You mentioned Reverend Fisher. You didn't realize that he was one of the first heads of the housing authority in the city of Milwaukee. And some of us have a history of that from current based on some of the difficulties they've had under the guidance of other people who obviously inherited that position. So I guess my whole notion is as you read Black Milwaukee by Joe William Trotter, you read Mary Ellen Shadd's Negro Business Directory of the state of Wisconsin, and there are pictures in there. You can see who some of the pioneers were. And also, when it comes to education, if you go back and look at St. Benedict the Boer Mission and Church, that was founded in 1908 by a Black man. And he provided educational leadership, or at least that mission did, to a lot of our Black leaders in Milwaukee in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. Matter of fact, when I grew up in began to become conscious of things like basketball and particularly basketball. St. Benedict the Moor was one of the better basketball teams in the city. Matter of fact, Jay Fair was one of the better basketball players in the city. When I go back on a religious side again, I remember going to Mount Zion Baptist Church on 10th and Brown, and on occasion visiting St. Mark AME Church on 11th and Reservoir. As a matter of fact, the contention is that I used to go there to see my current wife at St. Mark when she was a member at St. Mark. But
another church stalker. Oh, so you remember the club too, huh?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't remember of a club that's very distinctive. I don't even know. Of course, I don't know anybody else who's in it. I used to sing in the senior choir when I was in college at Mount Zion Baptist Church. And for those of you who are religious, remember the Hallelujah chorus?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, it has 4 hallelujahs. I put a 5th one in. And it came at it's very ostentatious because the whole choir sings hallelujah, 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 and you stop for a moment before you finish the song, and I sang a 5th one. But long story short, there needs to be maybe somehow a little bit more discussion of Black history in Milwaukee to get a better perspective of why the Black community had maybe had some positive things happen to it based on, I would say race, actually based on economics, than we sometimes give it credit for. If we go back to St. Mark, for example, St. Mark was formed somewhere around the corner of Plankton and in Wisconsin. It's hard to tell. I haven't got the exact place. But you know, there's a placard at the Hyatt Hotel that the first St. Mark Church was built there. It was actually, okay. And that later St. Mark Church was on 4th and Galena in a building there before it moved to another building and then to St. Mark on 11th and Reservoir. And of course, I've been a member since I got married in St. Mark on 11th and Reservoir to when it was we had a temporary quarters on
First and Right. First and Right.
Right.
Yep.
Right. First and Right.
Yeah, I used to attend.
And of course, I remember now, and this church was built in 1969 with the cornerstone being laid a year or two before that. Again, it was a very active church, had a very active community involvement. But I don't want to necessarily address all of it in a religious context.
Right.
Because
Well, let me do, Kurt, let me do this because I got a couple callers. I got guests at 10.
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciate you, man.
Can we talk?
Yep.
Okay.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Morning, Keith.
Good morning.
Is the answer George Washington Carver?
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
Oh, I'm telling you, but I think I'm right, but I'll be glad to know if I'm wrong.
Okay, so you say it's George Washington Carver?
I think so.
Okay, well, what is it in my tone that's making you second guess?
No,
your
it's just
answer?
because I didn't look it up.
I said, are you sure?
I
So
know
you say
the guy
George
involved with
Washington.
peanuts.
You say George Washington Carver.
Yeah, because he was involved with the peanut and the soybean and just revolutionized the whole thing with them. He even went to Henry Ford and they got chemicals where they made it out of that kind of stuff. He's really a genius.
Okay, all right. Appreciate
You're
you.
going to do a survey, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got no caller.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
Talk to you then.
All right, man.
Have fun. Bye-bye.
All right. Who invented peanut butter? Who invented peanut butter? Well, y'all think it's a trick question? The way like they got a caller, y'all looking like
Jiffy.
who? Mr. Jiffy, Mr. Skippy.
Right.
Somebody gonna say Carter, Jimmy Carter.
So, how many of y'all believe it was George Washington Carver?
I can't believe it.
You believe it's George Washington Carver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he the peanuts, so like dude said the peanuts and soybean. I believe it was.
George Washington Carver.
So was George Washington Carver.
He was black.
Yep.
He was black.
Yeah, with the last name Carver. I just need to make sure.
George Washington. Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that should have been a
Washington
tip.
is
Yeah, well, because black people would name their kids
in the name of
after
George.
after presidents, after cities. You know, I got an uncle. I don't know if he was named after Grover Cleveland or the city of Cleveland.
Well,
but
Well, you know what? I got a cousin named Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington, that was a popular name.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it like when you would come up in these hyper segregated school systems, they set up the black school and either be Crispus Attucks, where in Indianapolis, that's where Oscar Robertson went, or Booker T. Washington.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to make a couple of points.
Okay.
I just was looking through YouTube and I saw an old video of Billy Graham, the preacher for the nation. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that Jesus was not white. And I spread it around. I sent it to Rideout and Michelle. And that to be, I think I know the white people need to hear the white man say. And that's about it. And y'all have a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, it's obvious. Jesus wasn't white. Okay. Oh, maybe he is or was. I don't know. I know Jesus wasn't white. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning. They're gone? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, so here's the answer to the question.
What's that?
Well, Aztecs and Incas made early versions. Canadian chemist Marcellus Gilmore Edson patented the first peanut paste in 1884, and Dr. John Harvey Kellogg later developed a version for people who couldn't chew. But it was Joseph Roosevelt who created the smooth, non-separating peanut butter in 1922 that resembles what is used today. With George Washington Carver popularizing peanuts, but he did not invent peanut butter.
Okay.
That's a nice one.
But he's still in it. He had something to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, what he did was, and it was interesting because in the South, and this was coming up on the Dust Bowl, what they had overtaxed the land with cotton. So he was coming up with different things to restore nutrients to the soil so the soil would be productive again. And two of the things that he said they should use is grow peanuts and grow soybean. Do 1 year where you do that, and then you could go back to growing cotton.
So I wonder who was the first person to come up with, you know what? Let's take peanut butter and put it together with jam.
Who invented the peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Caller, welcome to the program. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I was just going to give you that correct answer to who created the peanut butter, but you have said it already.
Uh-huh.
But
There is someone who is credited with creating the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Julia Davis Chandler is credited with publishing the first known recipe for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in 1901 in the Boston Cooking School magazine of Culinary Sciences, Domestic Economics. She recommended using currant or crab apple jelly.
oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Initially, peanut butter was considered a delicacy, often paired with pimento, watercress, or cheese in upscale tea rooms. The combination gained traction when pre-sliced bread became available in the 1920s. It was a wartime staple, The sandwich became widespread during World War II as both peanut butter and jelly were in soldiers' rations and were affordable, high protein, non-ration food items. Okay. Although frequently associated with the development of the peanut industry, George Washington Carver did not invent the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Who invented the syrup sandwich?
Have a great day, Keith.
Black
You
people.
too. Who invented the syrup sandwich?
Black
And
people.
sandwich spread.
Black
Well,
people.
sandwich spread is now, come on, the sandwich spread is the bomb.
I mean, but the sandwich spread sandwich.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
grandma would do like sandwich spread and some cheese.
Oh my God.
I thought I was in heaven.
No meat, man.
No meat, man. I thought I was in heaven, dude.
So you know what? I hate Miracle Whip
Me too.
because they used to try to put that in.
Man, my mama hated mayo. To this day, my mama hate mayo. So all we had was Miracle Whip. And dude, now I'm gonna tell you what Miracle Whip is really good with.
What?
This is high end. You get you some honey baked ham and some Miracle Whip
I never tried.
and some light bread.
It's game over. Huh?
Phew, game over. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Oh man. Also, for all you old schoolers, I got no caller. No, I'm good.
No.
I got for all you old schoolers. I got a few more minutes. Who invented the conch? The process.
Oh,
Who invented the conch? The process.
now, whoever invented it, I'm sure it was a lot of trial and error, because coming up with it and putting it on your hair just to see what it would do, because that's some strong stuff, man.
Oh man,
It was strong back then.
Yeah,
Lie.
It was even stronger back then than it was.
Now I'm gonna
later
tell you,
on.
man. If you had a process back in the day,
Oh, you was the man.
no, people would think like, oh, they thought you like worldly. You were,
Oh, wait. Oh,
Now,
from the church point of view.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then the quartet started sporting them.
Yeah. Wait.
Well, 'cause, hey,
Sam Cooke, they started sporting them, and
well, hey, don't you remember the Malcolm X movie when they
right?
they got their hair processed and everybody was laughing at them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were laughing at them.
They called them Bamas.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, man, you, I can remember dudes had those silk scarves on, laying it down,
Yeah.
and had that little pompadour. I think he had a nice one. David Ruffin
Oh, yeah.
with the Temptations, he had a nice process. But no, man, you didn't want to do a process. That was considered. Now I don't know if Reverend Ike had a process or that was his natural hair.
Process.
You think it was process? Yeah. So who invented the conch? And actually, it was short for the conch. Came out in the 1920s, and it was short for Congoline, which was, I don't know if that was the hair grease they were using to do the process. We have talked about my mother, who was a trained beautician, wouldn't let me anyway put any chemicals in my hair because she had had a bad experience with some chemicals in her hair. And so after that, my mama never, so it'd be natural. Now, one of my cousins talked me in to putting some Murray's.
Mm-hmm. Murray's grease.
Yeah, and I tell man, so all this was like plastered and the rest was nappy. All this was plastered.
So you didn't put it. See, with the Murray, you're supposed to put it on your hair and then take a hot towel.
Right, lay it down.
Lay it down and let
Get
it
you
sit.
get you some brushes.
Yeah. Let it sit.
We used to take the kids on as part of youth ministry at Metropolitan. We take them on retreat. And one year we went on retreat, and man, all the dudes was like had brushes. They had brushes and do-rags. They just brushes. I said, there's 15 of y'all and 3 waves between the 15 of y'all, right? But there was this one brother I saw, man. I said, dog, I'm going to get seasick. That's how those waves was laid, man. Oh, man. I love the brothers had that round hair where they could do like, it just be like circular with the waves.
See, but that comes from constant.
My waves, I had waves in college. And then I started losing my hair.
I had waves.
Yeah, we had waves. As a matter of fact, our do-rags were old pantyhose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, put a penny hills and lay it down, and then somebody came up. See, there's always people out there that's smarter than me. Then somebody came up with, why don't we just do do-rags?
Yeah. And call it do-rag.
And call it do-rag.
I wonder who invented that.
Pookie.
Let's look it up.
Who
Who invented the do-rag?
Because it used to be the stockings. You get your mama old
Right.
stockings.
Who invented, that means do is like hairdo.
Mm-hmm.
Who invented
the
do-rag?
There's a lot of inventions. Like you said, the surf sandwich, that came from pro black people.
In my do-rag.
That's where surf sandwich came from. Like
You know
ketchup
what?
sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Okay.
Told you, Pookie. I told you.
What is
Now, they said there's ancient roots to the do-rag. There is no single inventor of the do-rag, as head coverings for hair protection existed for centuries. But William J. Dowdy is credited with popularizing the modern do-rag, mass producing it as the tie-down wave cap in 1979 through his company, So Many Waves.
Hey, you know what? That got to be a black man. Because all I heard while you was reading that, there was Guitar Rick. A whole lot of waka.
Okay, this is you need to.
Yeah, know your history.
There you go.
Learn your history.
So it's the tie-down wave cap in 1979 through his company, So Many Waves.
So Many Waves.
To help maintain hairstyles and waves in black hair. While headscarves served similar functions for enslaved people and laborers, Dowdy's product specifically targeted the hair care needs of black men to prevent hair from reverting to its natural texture after styling.
Yeah, that's Pookie them daddy. That's what that was.
Somebody said, what do rag mean to the Australians?
Oh, that's a good question. Do they have an answer?
This from Zebra.
Like in my do-rag.
That's 3N.
That's a good question.
Okay. By the 1990s, the do-rag transitioned from purely functional to a significant symbol of black culture, resilience, and hip-hop fashion as portrayed by the Fashion and Race Database in Bernie. This is coming off of AI. Now, because DJ comes in with a do-rag, every Friday.
I had my Tempur-Pedic.
Oh, yeah, you got worn out, didn't you?
Mine is Tempur-Pedic, but mine is for the locks. But give us wisdom, oh great one.
All right.
Hey, Kevin, the answer to your other question about somebody said Garrett Morgan created the live bass.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. Mr. Garrett Morgan. Thank you. Thank you, caller. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See, you got to know your history.
Know your history. Yeah.
So thank God there was a black man who created the do-rag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just made it stylish. That's all.
Yeah, I love that. What was the name of that company again? So Many Waves.
Hey, but you know that it has to be for us because we the only one that got the hair like that.
Oh no. We used to have a teacher at Parkman named Mr. Marginal. Mr. Marginal, man, he had these waves.
Yeah, waves.
Dude, his hair was so wavy, man. Oh man. And I'm gonna tell you something. I know I got some of my former female classmates at Parkman. They used to love Mr. Marginal. Oh, those women love Mr. Marginal.
Because he had hair.
Oh, he's a good looking dude. You give credit where credit due. He had a little flair.
Was he light skinned?
He's white.
Okay.
He was white.
He was mixed.
Oh, there you go. Another.
The word do-rag translates to the Australian women as a
feminine product.
Oh, D-U-E rag. Oh, okay.
Dude.
Yeah, but that do-rag was hairdo. Yeah, okay. You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, and we're joined in studio by Mr. Devin Anderson, the African American Roundtables Campaign and Membership Director. He is the coordinator of Liberate Milwaukee campaign. Sorry about that for that little dyslectic moment that I had there, man. How you doing? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm doing well. First, thank you again for having me back.
Did you grow up in Milwaukee?
No, I actually didn't grow up in Milwaukee. I grew up in Racine, or Racine, like 40 minutes south. But I've been in Milwaukee the last 5+ years, and so recently bought a house here. So y'all got me for a while.
Where'd you go to high school, Racine?
I went to Park High School.
Went to Park?
Yeah,
Oh,
played football there.
You played football?
Yeah, I played football in high school and then in college. So I played left guard, so I was an offensive lineman. So I really enjoyed that. I miss it sometimes, but I was
people. Or what do you miss about it?
The hitting people, yeah, the organized violence of it. But I was literally talking to one of my colleagues yesterday at the office. I'm like, dude, I think I have like arthritis in my finger. So I think that was football related.
Oh man, your finger! Think about it, man.
Blocking all those people, yeah.
Man, that is something. So you've been with the African American Roundtable how long?
Oh, I've been with the Roundtable for 7 years.
Okay.
So yeah, it was really, like I said, I went to Belay College, and after that, I had a brief stint working with the Democratic Party, and then I came over to the African American Roundtable.
What attracted you to organizing?
Yeah, so actually, I went to school, majored in political science and education,
or as we like to call it, saving the world.
Yeah, and so I thought I was going to be a teacher. I thought I was going to be a high school civics teacher.
Okay.
And I remember I was doing my getting my hours in the classroom my junior and senior year of college, and every time I'd go to the high school, they would always think I was a student. They would always be like, dude, you had to get back in class. I'm like I'm not a student. And so then I was like, maybe I'm not quite ready to be a teacher, especially a high school teacher. And if, for folks watching or looking, you can see I really don't got much facial hair. And when I was like 22, 23, I really thought like a beard was coming. I thought like a thick beard and a mustache was coming. And now I'm 30, and this is like 6+ months of me growing out my beard. So I was like, I'm going to take a little bit of break, just do some organizing for a little bit. And then I just got the bug. And then, I kept reading. I read a couple really good books, and I'll give a couple unsolicited book recommendations. One is Unapologetic by Charlene Carruthers. I remember reading that right after college. And then the other is The Making of All Black Lives Matter by Dr. Barbara Ransby. And so after that, I was like, man, I really want to organize, and I really want to organize around issues that Black people care about. And so the opportunity with the Roundtable opened up, and I took it. And 7 years later, they still want me there, and I'm still excited to be there.
What are some of the challenges you face as an organizer?
Yeah, I think, one of the challenges, and I was thinking about this on the drive over, is part of organizing is sort of helping people make sense of each moment we're in, helping people understand each moment we're in and the possibilities that exist. And so, think about that in the time of COVID. And I was a much younger organizer then, and it's like helping people understand what we're seeing, right? In terms of a government not caring about people's health as they're trying to push people back into the workforce to keep making profit. Or, later in that year, after Breonna Taylor is killed, George Floyd is killed, and all the uprising, helping people make sense of that actually this is what policing is. That's like what you talked about, Liberate MKE. That's one of the things we always made the point. One of the things we would say is, as long as police exist, they will kill Black people. That's just the fact. And now making sense of this moment, right? And helping shape and contextualize. Yes, we're seeing a surge in ICE, and we're seeing people get radicalized similarly in some ways, how they were radicalized around policing in 2020 around the issue of ICE. And so we have to use this moment to say, we have to make the connection between like immigration enforcement and cops, and police, like draw the connection and then add on to it. So it's really, I think the challenge is always helping people make sense of difficult political moments and remaining hopeful,
When you say make sense of it, because I guess the question I was going to ask is, once you get me to recognize or even begin to understand it, should there be a corresponding action to respond to it?
Yeah. So I think it starts with making sense of it. Right? Once you would make sense of the political moment and understand how these systems are working together, then it's the organizer, and part of my job is what actions can we take? How can we use the energy? How can we use the momentum? How can we use the politicization of everyday people in order to move us elsewhere? So an example, again, we're talking about ICE and all of that. How can we use this moment to move people into a politic of care? That actually this time is not calling for us to stay in our house and avoid our neighbors. Actually, this is a moment where we must practice deep community care, and be willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with our neighbors and push back on all the things that are happening.
I'm half through it. I'm watching a documentary called Power, and it talks about policing in America, the roots of policing, where it came from. This is Black History Month, so it's deeply rooted in enforcement of the Fugitive Slave Act and trying to run down fugitive, formerly enslaved people. But they did a statistic that just kind of blew my mind, where it says that and I think they started back in 1960 and working up to the mid 2000s, they said there's been 2,000 insurrections. Incidents. The vast majority of them was sparked by a police interaction, some police action that then led to, we saw it here. Was that Seville Smith, and what happened in Sherman Park. I know that, and maybe you can help, that after George Floyd, people were saying defund the police. And then, of course, the right picked up on that and made it sound like, well, people are not really about public safety. And then you would hear things like, well, Black people really want police. We do, but we don't want to be abused by police. Those two different things, right?
First, I would, one of the things we always are contending with, and maybe this can help us segue to talking about participatory budgeting and the opportunities that exist there, is we have to push back that the only way to achieve public safety or community safety is through police and policing. So, we have to have an understanding that actually community safety goes beyond policing. And what do I mean by that? Think about all the, I always bring this up, think about all the opportunities you've had to call the police and you didn't. Whether it can be something very simple or something a little bit more complex. First, why is that? And one of the things I remember hearing, I'd asked similar questions to this, and people said, first, I didn't call the police because they don't show up. Example, a couple of years ago, I lived on the, before I bought my house, I lived on the east side, and legitimately for a 3-week stretch, they were busting out windows in cars, literally you drive down the street and all you would see is glass in the street, from the windows. And I was like, did I call the cops? No, because what are they going to do in that moment? So I think that's one thing we have to de-wrestle that. And we have to think about all the other ways that everyday people are helping keep the community safe, whether it's the community center and the programming they're offering to young people to give them something to do during the summer, whether it's the violence interrupters, whether it's just, the neighborhood watch, whether it's just you, like I said, intervening or supporting or helping your neighborhood. So we want to push back that the only way that we can be safe is through police and policing.
That's one of the modifications, and then we're going to get to participatory budgeting, was reimagining. I think that, and that's, we live in this where people can pick up things and they'll do that and they'll ride with it. And so when they heard defund the police, well, that means eliminate police. No, I think it was making sure, as you just said, that the police are really responsive to community needs and not viewed as, in some instances, occupying force. So I forgot.
And one thing I want to say about this too is, Milwaukee's not unique, and I think across major cities, we have to ask ourselves, and we have to think about another context, the city budget. And I know there's always a lot of conversation on how Milwaukee is using its limited resources, and in the city budget, nearly 40% of the budget is police, over 40%. We have to think about that in other contexts. And like what I'm getting at is, anytime you have to spend 40% of your budget on police, what is that saying about everything else that exists? That means libraries are getting 3%. That means all these other services that we really rely on in our quality of life services are getting so much less than they deserve. And so part of the conversation, as we are making it, with Liberate MKE, is that actually we have to be divesting money from police, because it's not sustainable to spend this much. What do they say? You shouldn't be spending over 25% of your money on your income on rent. Think about that in other contexts. Think about that in the personal finance. They're always trying to relegate how we spend our personal money, but yet cities across the country think it's acceptable, right, and sustainable to spend 40+% on police and policing. And so that's part of the conversation we want to be having, that we, by not investing this money, or by overinvesting this money in police and policing, that we're not seeing like opportunities to fund other things. And so that's why we have asked for participatory budgeting over the years, which is a process where everyday people, residents like you and me, have the opportunity to propose and vote on projects. And in this case, in what we're talking about, Milwaukee's allocated $600,000 for participatory budgeting. And one of the things that money has to be used on is programs and projects that will help improve community safety, that are beyond police and policing. So this is really an opportunity to pilot, to experiment in other ways we can keep our community safe beyond police and policing.
So when it looks at, you always hear about people who are doing the work.
Yeah.
Is this an effort to get resources to people who are doing the work?
Yeah, that's precisely what it is. It's an effort to get resources to people who have really great ideas and are doing the work, and that could benefit from having some resources behind it. And so I think, like, one of the things with participatory budgeting we've been working with, and if people know me, they know I don't always like to give shout outs to our elected officials, but I will in this scenario. I'll give a shout out to Alderman Mark Chambers and Alderwoman Cogs, who really helped us get this over the finish line, and now are sort of supporting in the and pushing towards the implementation. And so that's part of what they why they wanted to do this, as a way to move resources to people who are doing the work.
So would there be, like we were saying, you want community involvement and to participate in this budget process? Are there groups that people are considering, individuals that they're considering? We look at their work and then say we should allocate money to them. I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll just talk a little bit broadly about what participatory budgeting looks like overall. So the process is, right, you really start with by appointing a steering committee, and these are the people who we say make the rules of the game. So they get to determine sort of some of the criteria, not only in terms of like the projects. We know, like, broadly the projects have to deal with community safety, but they get to determine a little bit about that, as well as the voting, like who's eligible to vote. One of the things we're really hopeful and we'd like to see in participatory budgeting, we know in a regular election, you have to be 18 years or older, you have to be off papers, you have to be XY, you have to have citizenship, like, right? With participatory budgeting, what we've seen in other communities is that's not necessarily the case. So there might be ways for teenagers and younger people to be a part of this process, and we encourage that. There might be ways for people still on paper to be a part of the project. We want to see that. There might be ways for our undocumented community to be a part of this process and have real votes, and we want to see that. And so after they make the rules of the game, there's like the application period or the proposal period, where people can submit proposals to what they to like for projects they want to, make the final ballot. After that, the steering committee will review those, make sure they all fit within the criteria, and then it sort of moves to a public vote. And that voting window is usually a few weeks to a month long and gives residents the opportunity to vote. And by having conversations just with some elected officials, the hope is we make that voting process as accessible as possible, that, there are voting stations across all the libraries at City Hall and then online as well.
Part of any kind of budgeting is that from time to time there are obviously oversight audits to make sure that money has been spent the way it's supposed to be spent in a very general way. Is that group that's part of this process also part of evaluating the effectiveness of these allocations?
Yeah, so that's another big thing. We want to tell the story. We think this has the opportunity to have really positive impacts in Milwaukee, and we want to make sure that story is told. And so from us, we're not directly a part of the process. Just from the outside, we are going to be tracking the implementation. That's why we're following this and doing community education to really track the implementation. And then once the projects are voted on, we're going to continue to track the implementation. And the hope is we use this process as a springboard to have other participatory budgeting processes in the future.
It's I think the amount that they're looking at this year is $600,000.
Yep, $600,000.
So will that increase?
The hope is, the hope is we can get, after a successful process this year, and we really show, one of the things that they always talk about with activists and organizers, challenge of being an organizer, is people think you're just pie in the sky ideas person. You don't have the governing capacity. And so the hope is we use this process as a way to show that these ideas that we've been pushing do have strength, do have power, and that we should be allocating more money towards them in the future.
We have a caller.
Oh, not a caller. Love that.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning. I was listening to your guest. He said something that sparked the flame. He said that he wants to see younger people vote and participate in this election deal, which is a developing and growing line.
No. We're talking about this is a specific thing. This is not for the election. This is part of a budgeting process.
Right, but he said that he would like to see these people vote, and they want to advocate for that, right? Am I correct?
The vote in the process.
Okay, can he answer that question?
Okay.
Yeah, I can answer that question. Yeah, I think what I was saying is this is not our, what I'm talking about is not young people voting in elections, but rather this participatory budgeting process, which will help allocate and determine how we allocate the $600,000. And part of the reason I think it's important for them to have a vote in this process is because they live in our community and they have wonderful ideas.
Okay, then you said something about undocumented, illegal participation in this. You think that's good for them as well?
Again, yeah, I think, when we're talking about this budgeting piece, we all...
Okay, cool, the budgeting piece. That's fine.
But
do you belong to any other organizations where you guys actually take votes around the table or in the room?
Yeah, we do that at the African American Roundtable, yeah.
Okay, now when you guys have a voting process, when you guys have a vote on something, whether it just be something simple as a secretary, do you allow outsiders to come in and cast that vote?
I think my point is these people are not outsiders, right? They all have a stake in the city of Milwaukee. Our young people, they have a stake in the city of Milwaukee. We talk all the time about all the problems with young people, and we give them no power, no ways to have their voices heard. That's why I think it's important. When we talk about community safety, I remember them talking about young people taking over Midtown, them talking about young people doing the street races downtown. But we don't give them the opportunity to say what they
I agree with you on that, because I put together a plan that would allow young people. We did it for about 2 years, and we could barely get any help from any city officials. Bob Donovan promised to come over. He didn't show up. Willie Hines never showed up. The rest of those cranks never showed up. And we wound up holding the bag trying to develop this thing because we understand that don't nobody know where Lil Ray Gun is, but his friend or somebody that's in that circle. We understand that when there's a youth beef, nobody really knows about it until it goes down, even through this social media deal. I get that concept, but will you really find people to actually help participate, or will they just send financial money that'll be earmarked to that program or to that cause, and we'll never see any results from it? And everybody, has a parachute.
Meech, are you listening?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because that's what this process is.
Exactly.
So what do you do when you get the money?
I think it's the implementation. Once you have the resources. So whatever your project is, which sounds like it has the potential to be very powerful and improve, community safety, that could be something that's, that you propose, that you want to get up to, or that the money should be earmarked towards. And then that it can go to the ballot and be voted on. And then if it's funded,
I'm interested in waiting and see, and excited to see just where this is going to go. It'll probably make it through, and it'll probably be money earmarked for that particular project. But we'll never see any results from it, my man. And I know you probably got a good heart. You probably believe in what you believe. But once you get embedded in that, and you've been doing it now, you said about 5 years.
Yeah, a little more.
So I figure you've already figured out how to make this, how to generate, and believe you me, politicians are watching you, and they want to be a part of that because it's a part of their campaign movement, underbelly. So it just bothers me because I never see any results out of these implemented ideas.
All right,
I really never do.
Let me do this, and I'll let you do that. All right, go on.
Yeah, I just was, the last thing I want to say is, we want to see the results. That's why we're going to be following the implementation of this, but we also have to put this into a larger scale. We're talking about $600,000 out of a $2.1 billion budget.
Right.
And so when we talk about results, yes, we want to see results too, but we can't expect, with $600,000, like what we expect, or, when you're spending $2.1 billion. I was emailing my alderwoman, who's Charlotte Moore. Shout out to Alderwoman Moore, who's great. And I was talking just about, the trash collection. The city has a $2.1 billion budget each year, and they're charging me a lot. I just got my property tax bill, and they're charging me a lot of property taxes. And yet, we went 2 weeks without our trash getting picked up. And I'm not trying to, rip them out. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, we can't just, and we see this throughout the city. There's always conversation, and how can we hold the Office of Violence Prevention accountable, right? When they're getting pennies compared to police and policing and sort of these other things. And so the point we're making is, yes, we want this money to be accountable to our community and community needs. And we have to name that this is a $600,000 pot and a $2.1 billion budget. That's why we want to use this as a pilot to hopefully get more money allocated towards participatory budgeting in the future.
So this is going to happen on Saturday, February 7th. Where and what people need to do if they need to register?
Yeah, so we're going to be having an event this Saturday, 11 a.m., 11 to 1 p.m. at the Village Square Library. We'll have food. We'll have really good food. And we'll be talking in more detail about this and actually, like, showing what a participatory budgeting process can look like. So if you're interested, throwing down with us, you can go to our Facebook page, African American Roundtable. You'll see information there. But you can also go to our website aartmke.org. Look under the events page, and you'll see a link to register there as well. So it'll be Saturday again, 11 a.m. at the Village Square Library. Hope to see all y'all there.
Mr. Devin Anderson of the African American Roundtable, the campaign and membership director. They're talking about a participatory budgeting process. Again, that'll be Saturday from 11 to
1 p.m. Yeah.
There at the Villard Street Library. Man, appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. And yeah, just really excited to see where this goes. And one thing I'll plug about Saturday, we hope to have some really exciting updates from the Common Council on more details about precisely what the process will look like.
I appreciate you. You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Can somebody help us out here before I get to the caller? What was the name of the potato joint that was on Wisconsin Avenue? Because I know Ned's was over there. They still had the pizza cellar. So if anybody can remember the name of the potato spot there on Wisconsin, right? Yeah, let us know. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, Keith. This is Rick calling long distance from Germany.
Yes, sir.
Is your guest gone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He spoke about $600,000. Do you want to say what that money was for?
Yeah, I think it's for programming in the community.
Programming of what?
I think it's programming that's kind of it's community work, and maybe if you can do some of this community work, you're going to bring down the need for certain types of police interaction.
Okay, let me just say this: the American economy is $1 trillion economy. $600,000 for a city the size of Milwaukee is not a lot of money.
Right.
If they're going to throw money at a problem, they should increase that into the millions.
Right.
I'm done, brother man.
All right, but I think this is a pilot to see. And I've always been adamant about this as a lifelong government servant, and as a government servant who dealt with social services. I think one of the frustrations that I've had is that sometimes that we put community over competency, and we want to make sure Black people get the money. But the problem with just making sure Black people get the money is if Black people are not doing what those programs should try to do, then we have a problem, right? And so I think that we have to develop a certain level of competency when it comes to service delivery. We should also be able to document the work that's been done. I heard Devin say, tell your story. And one of the ways you tell your stories is, I'm going to use a big word here, is Wednesday, quantitatively, where you can go in and say, here's the number of people. Listen to that, the number of people. And then you can then talk about the impact of your programming. You do it from time to time. We have something called Chronos and Kairos. Chronos is that thing where we chronicle, we document, but the Kairos is the actual quality, the essence of what people do. And the impact on failure sometimes of our institutions. And, one of the basic things in terms of being able to do the work is be able to keep the lights on. Wow. I mean, be able to keep the lights on, make sure staff is paid. What happened at SDC, people still can't figure out how that happened. Where you have this one of the largest community serving organizations is gone under, going out of business. And I don't know how much of that is just poor institutional management. But I think, again, doing this all my adult life, I can see I definitely can see the results of when it's not done right. And people, I remember one time I was talking to someone, they were about to lose their funding. And so I just asked the basic question. I said, well, could you document your work? And they're going, well, we were so busy doing the work. Part of the work is being able to document the work that you're doing. And and that's why I'll tell people I'll take competency sometimes over community. I understand that there are people who for whatever reasons, but the end result is that the work we do should have some positive results. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that expectation. See, a lot of people, not a lot, but there's some people who always see an opportunity. They go out and go like, oh man, we getting banked. When we first went to childcare in 1995, where more money was put in under the temporary Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, which replaced AFDC, one of the things they did was increased the amount of money that went into child care. And I knew something was up when we got the child care manual, and it was about as thin as this piece of paper that I'm holding in my hand right now. That opened up the door for people to do all kind of things. And unfortunately, you have to put rules into place, expectations into place, because everybody coming in saying they're going to do a good might not be about the good, right? They could be about self-enrichment. You saw it early on. And let me shout out former State Senator Lena Taylor and others who were saying to people who were operating choice schools that you got to have some criteria, right? You just, if MPS is hiring licensed teachers, many of them with 4+ years of instruction and pedagogy, how you get Keith off the street and think he gonna come in and have the same results as that MPS or public school teacher, right? So, and I know we do a lot of things, and then people throw up, oh man, Black people benefit. Not always. And that's what's real unfortunate, and we have a graveyard full of well-intentioned organizations that went out and for whatever reasons were not able to either do what they were contracted to do or had other issues when it came around management. Because like I said, the most important thing is keep the lights on, the rent got to be paid, staff has to be paid, and put yourself in a position where you can do that. And then we haven't even got to the service delivery part of it. That's real important. So, and then conservatives will then use, it's interesting when people talk about the Office of Violence Prevention. I don't know if people remember, and I knew something was up when some of the Republicans that I knew was coming up asking me about an office most people didn't know anything about. What's going on with the Office of Violence Prevention? Now it's the Office of Community Wellness. But then it was like, Republicans getting ready to use it as a talking point, and they sure did. Even though what they were accusing them of not doing wasn't even in their mandate to do, okay? It wasn't. When you really went up to find out about what their actual mandate was, it was not what people are talking, because even, man, I haven't said a lot about it because I do know Adam Purcell. I've worked with Adam Purcell. Ron and I were talking about, when he had to resign. And the people who were very supportive of him talked about the drop in the crime rate, right? And they were giving him credit for that. Now, I don't know how much of that. I think there are other factors out there that probably have very little to do with the Office of Community Wellness. So I asked Rhonda this question. I said, so if the crime rate went up, will we hold him responsible for that? Because I guess we'd have to, right? I think the expectations people have, and now that I'm on the subject, people. This is as much about politics as it is about the functionality and the effectiveness of the office. When you read the comments that people are making, a lot of times it had very little to do with substance. It had everything to do with issues people might have with the mayor. People had the issue of his background and why is he getting paid so much money. I mean, it turned into a whole lot of different things, as well it should, because again, and I think this happened in 2020, all of a sudden this office is spotlighted, right? And people going, oh, what are they doing? As if, and I don't know what their budget is, but there's certainly not enough money in their budget to be able to solve the issue of violence in this community. There's a lot that goes into violence, and the contact I saw Aziz had on Facebook talked about, violence prevention, violence intervention, but he said a lot of his attitude, a lot of it's systemic, right? A lot of it's the environment that people find themselves in, and them feeling like, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong, this is how I function best in this environment, right? Now, people in general can be violent, right? If we can be peaceful, we can be violent. How do people resolve conflict is an issue, but the Office of Community Wellness is not going to be there when me and Jermaine get into a fight, right? So it doesn't work that way, but it was an outsized expectation. And then all of a sudden that office takes on a higher profile, than people had. And then people were able to, and then here comes the politics, either for or against it, how people will use it. And look, politicians always want credit, right? Elected officials want credit. You go out, you want credit. They're not as quick to run in and take responsibility when it comes to failure, but when it comes to success, hey, here's what I do. It becomes part of my campaign flyer. But the bottom line is, does it have, where it's moving the needle, where it's having impact on the lives of the people that this program is designed to help? Again, like I said, people have their feelings on it. I'm privy to be behind the scenes, and you see a lot of what's going on, and you understand very quickly, for some people, this is not really about anything other than rich. It's something that Mr. Jones said. What did he say? You work for a cause, not for applause. That is not that people recognize you as the person who's doing da-da-da-da-da, but there's substantive changes that have been made because of our efforts, right? One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible says that ye are the salt of the earth, and salt added correctly makes the whole thing better. Too much salt becomes unhealthy and not tasty, but just the right amount of salt. So I want to believe, if anything in my life, that situations that I've been a part of, it was a little bit better because of me being there and the work that I did while I was there. That's do we want to make it better? And no, we're not going to solve racism with a program. That as long as it's human beings, there's going to be racism and ism. Who called in and told me? Oh, that was Dr. Ward. That that Billy Graham had this revelation that Jesus wasn't white. Okay. Well, let me say this about Billy Graham. It was white Jesus, though, in terms of the people that you ran with and a lot of the programs that you supported, and then only to find out that he voted for Trump 3 times. I don't know if he was able to vote the last time, but, his son said before he died, he had voted for Donald Trump. And, and maybe one program I'll go in and really talk about the history of Billy Graham and where that came from. People might be really surprised because, and my grandma loved to hear Billy Graham preach. Oh, my grandma loved to hear Billy Graham preach. And only when you did a little bit of research, you began to find out what Billy Graham was really about and the Americanism that was tied up in his theology. A buddy of mine texted me last night. I have some of my deepest theological discussions with a guy who doesn't even go to church. But he asked me a question yesterday. He asked me, basically, I'm going to kind of let me kind of summarize it this way. He wanted to know, does Paul have more influence, or why does Paul have more influence in terms of Christian theology than Jesus's brother James? And and I thought about it for a moment, and here is one of these dilemmas when it comes to Christianity. When Constantine began and formed what became the Catholic Church, became the church, now they were practicing Christians, but when this organized institutional approach to religion in the Roman Empire, what you saw, and whether it was conscious or unconscious, was making this religion less Semitic and more European, right? Jesus was Semitic. Jesus was a practicing Jew. And a lot of people forget that about Jesus. He was a practicing Jew. He was an observant Jew. He was a rabbi. So a lot of the Jewishness, right? And I'll give you a great example. I'll give you a great example of this is, why do Christians worship on Sunday and not on Saturday, which is the Jewish Sabbath? That was to separate Christianity, part of it, that delinking from its Jewish roots. We don't follow the dietary code, right? Because there's a linkage there. So, all right, let me thank Mr. Devin Anderson. Let me thank all the callers. Clark Kent, thank you. Debo, thank you. Jermaine Rideout, thank you. In the whole world. Thank you. And again, and they'll flash it again. Our 2 books, yeah, flash it one more time. Yep. And hopefully you all learned something today. Certainly we learned a little bit about peanut butter, and we learned about the do-rag. Your history. This is Keith Parris. And good Lord willing, Freak don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.